What is up, people? So, on Thursday, coming up this week, is going to be the announcement of the All Star reserves. Now, we've had the All Star starters, so we thought, why don't we do something different? Why don't we try and collaborate together to try and guess all of the starters from each conference? So, the format we are going to do is because there's six of us and there's seven picks on each conference, we will each pick a player, and then the last pick will be decided by all of us. There'll be debates throughout, but yeah, that is the process that we're going to do. And we're going to start in the Western Conference, and with the first pick, with a front court pick, is Matt Harris. So take away with your pick, please.
For my first pick, I am going to go to the centre position. I'm going to select someone who actually 361 days after he touched a few microphones and shut the league down, it'll be quite a nice turnaround if this man is selected for the All-Star game, and that is Rudy Gobert of the Utah Jazz.
I think we're all in agreement with that.
Yeah.
Everyone happy with that? Okay,
yeah.
Great pick. So I'm up next. I've also got a front court, and I'm going to be pairing Rudy Gobert with PG, Paul George. So Paul George is averaging 24 points per game. He's 51% field goal, 48% from three, and 91% from free throw. So 50, 40, and 90. And he's also got a career high 5.5 assists per game. Clippers are 22 and 9. So that is my reasoning. Okay, everyone happy with that?
Yeah, man's been in fuego.
Nice. Okay, all in agreement so far. This is good. So, Ed, you have the third front court spot. Who will you be taking?
Yes, sir. So, funny enough, actually, I had my 1, 2, 3 of options I wanted. Rudy and PG were definitely on there. And the third person I'm taking there is from the Los Angeles Lakers. And although he's not having a year like he did last year or has had previously, he is still putting up all-star numbers and is an important part of the Los Angeles Lakers, and that is the Brow, Anthony Davis. He's averaging 22.5 points a game. He's got just under 9 rebounds a game, and is still putting up those defensive efficiencies that you like to see on the Lakers. And we all know that the Lakers are based on their defense, and Anthony Davis is a big part of it.
Everyone good with that?
Absolutely.
No complaints. God, this is nice. This is very smooth. Wait till we get to the East.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Bray, you're up next. You've got the first guard spot. Who are you picking?
This is another easy one. It's Dame. He should have been a starter. Not really no arguing. He's been incredible. I am excited though, because obviously AD being injured, I think that gives us another opportunity to discuss amongst ourselves a replacement. So I look forward to looking back on that.
Very good point.
Yes. Very good point. We will be discussing that. Are we all happy with Dame time?
Of course.
Yep.
If anyone said anything, they're about to meet a lot of resistance there.
George's not being friends with someone.
if they, oh my goodness, if they,
George,
you know what?
It's okay.
Take a
Look
breath.
like
okay.
the Aaron Fox
I'm gonna take a
compared to
breath.
Dame. Oh.
It's okay.
Gotta take a breath.
It's okay. It's okay. You need to compose yourself because you've got the next pick, my brother.
Next pick.
You're a guard spot as well.
Yeah. Oh, see, I was gonna go Dame, straight up. But obviously that was taken. So I think for my pick, I will go for
Come on, George.
Jamal Murray.
Ooh.
Okay, we might have
disagreement.
Incoming
got
call
a
from Salt Lake
agreement.
City. Salt Lake
I
City's
don't-
calling me.
I don't-
Hold on.
I don't-
Donovan. Yeah, give me a second.
I think George just stole the wild card pick from me.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to go with somebody that's more obvious.
Well, we can discuss this. I don't think that's the one. I think it should be Mitchell.
We'll stick to the format.
Why?
No, we'll stick to the format.
Everyone
We'll stick to the format. Murray is
Okay.
locked in. We'll
I'll
come back to
say.
that. Jay Wild, you got the wild card?
Absolutely. So, just a wild card pick. I am going with DeMar DeRozan. I
I love what he's been doing. I think he's a really good player. I think if you're looking at wildcard stuff, Spurs have overachieved for the team they have, and people are thinking that they're not worth discussing because he's not a hard player. He doesn't shoot threes. I think he's somebody that overachieves for expectations, basically. And if you're looking, I don't necessarily think a lot of people think he's a snub, but if you want to look at wildcard guys, I think he'd be a really interesting pick.
It's going so well, isn't it? I see a lot of disgruntled faces. Okay, so we have to choose as a team who we think gets the final wildcard spot. Does anybody want to lead it off? Because there's so many players that you can pick.
I personally, my opinion is it has to be Donovan Mitchell, but it feels like to have neither Chris Paul or Devin Booker is very tough.
Yeah.
You can't
agree.
turn away Donovan.
So
Yeah.
I agree. I think it's got to be Donovan for that final spot. And we do have an injury replacement. We have a little bit of leeway here.
I say that.
I think it should be Chris Paul, but you're asking me for a wild card. I'll give you a wild card.
So, Bray, that's a fair point. However, all the players we're discussing are all backcourt players, and none of them are frontcourt players.
Yeah.
I've got a point of who I think should replace him. Zion. The reason, and I've got reasons, is because he's 25 points per game, 6.8 rebounds, 3.18 assists per game, and he's doing it in under 33 minutes, and he's 62% from the field. That's my replacement for AD. That's why I think he should be picked.
Yeah. I mean, of the forwards, are there any other honourable mentions or people we can put in there?
Where does BI fit into that? Is it BI over Zion? Like, which one would you have from the Pelicans?
I think I'd have Zion.
I haven't watched enough Pelicans to know. I mean, I suppose like you hear more from Zion. Like, and let's be honest, it's the All-Star game. It's not all NBA. It's more of a popularity contest, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm happy with Zion as the replacement.
Let's lock in Zion with a replacement. But I think for us as a team, we need to pick this wild card. Wildy said Chris Paul. I do agree with that.
Yeah. Okay, so
are we just forgetting Donovan Mitchell? Is he just falling off the face of the earth? Are we just not?
Donovan Mitchell. I know Donovan Mitchell should be replaced for Jamal Murray, but for this final spot, we haven't spoken about that.
Okay, fine. For wildcard spot, let me throw another name in there, and it is another Jazz player, and I'm going to say Mike Conley. Now, Mike Conley was supposed to be what Mike Conley now is what he was supposed to be last year. When he came into Jazz last year, it was like, oh shit, this could actually be a really nice piece for this Utah team to take another step. That didn't happen last year. And in the playoffs, he didn't necessarily perform like you would want him to. And Utah didn't. They got a 7-game series with the Nuggets, but you felt like with a couple extra pieces, with Bogdan being out and with Conley coming back in, they could have done it. And I was just reading some articles earlier on today, and listen to this. With both Conley and Mitchell, per 100 possessions, the Jazz are plus 16.8 points. With Mitchell and no Conley, that goes down to 5.6. So they're roughly 13 points worse off when it's just Mitchell without Conley. And you can do this with more or less anyone else on the starting unit from the Jazz. If it's Gobert, it goes from 14 to 11. With even with Clarkson, it goes from 15 to 4. So just the impact that Conley has for this Utah Jazz team is so big, and I think considering what the Jazz's record is, I think it'll be fair to put consideration for Mike Conley.
I agree, and I feel like he also should be like. Otherwise, I don't want us to discuss him when his career is over and say he was the best player never to make an All-Star team. I think he deserves the lifetime achievement of getting it this year as well.
Okay, so if we map this out, Gobert, happy. Paul George, we're happy. Davis, we're happy. Dame, we're happy. Murray,
we're not happy.
We're not happy. I think that should be changed to Donovan Mitchell.
Yeah.
And then who would take up the new wild card then?
So I think the wild card should be finished as, I don't think DeRozan should make it. I think it should be CP3.
I
And
agree.
then I don't think Conley should be in.
Agree. I just
Okay.
but DeMar DeRozan I consider to be a snub, basically.
Okay.
But there's just too much talent. But
Yeah.
I'm just showing some light in some corners that doesn't usually go. But Chris Paul is the correct answer if we're predicting.
Yep. Okay.
Is that the last one? Is it Chris Paul versus Mike Conley for the last spot?
Correct, and
No.
that's why Chris Paul gets it.
No, it's not. It's not. And I'll tell you why it's not. Because there's 2 wildcard spots. So it would be Chris Paul and Mike Conley.
Yeah.
So we
So
take DeRozan out. Yeah.
No DeRozan.
okay.
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
that's where I misunderstood. Okay, got you.
Good. Okay. So that wraps out our all-star team of Rudy Gobert, Paul George, Anthony Davis. Replacement is Zion.
Mhm.
Yeah. Dame Lillard, Donovan Mitchell, Mike Conley, Chris Paul. Happy?
I think.
Yeah.
I think.
Absolutely.
I think
Okay.
DeRozan probably looks at it and says he's a snub. Who else? Who else would feel snubbed?
I didn't have anyone else. I
Booker,
didn't have
maybe?
anyone else down.
Booker probably.
If
Booker probably.
potentially CJ, but he's missed a lot of time.
Yeah,
You could
no.
say SGA, but they're not. The team's not good enough. So yeah.
Yeah, maybe. But
Okay, cool. West is sorted. Hopefully, we get all right. This is where it gets really tricky. The Eastern Conference. There's a lot of real estate here because there's players who have loyalties to their teams. Yeah, this is going to be a tricky one. But let's start off with Wildy. You have got the guard position in the East to kick us off.
Absolutely. It's James Harden for me. I think it has to be. I mentioned even earlier on in this when we were covering Brooklyn earlier. Yeah, it's a tough start to the season, but he's come in and really shown his worth. And if you're talking about putting together a campaign to getting a spot, he has put together some games, has put some wins in the win column. On his own, hitting game winners against the Suns. I just think he's obviously really key to them, and it's all fit together way better than everybody predicted, given the usage rate of all 3 of their stars. But they have sacrificed in the right areas to win games, and I mean, it has to be rewarded. They're too good offensively to ignore those guys. So it's James Harden for me.
Okay, I won't deny James Harden's greatness, but are we above being petty and saying he was an absolute bitch in the way that he wormed his way out of Houston so he could go and play on a super team with 2 other All-Stars, and should he be punished for that?
No, because he's not coasting.
He wasn't
going
starting.
in and making a difference to that team.
He's making that team.
I mean, I
He's
know
making
he
that
is,
team.
but I'm just like, I'm not above being petty. Like, if it was my own personal ballot, I would be a bit like, screw you. Like, in the same way that a lot of people dislike KD for going to the Warriors. Like, Harden's essentially done the same thing here, and he forced his way out of Houston as well, which I think makes that even worse. Like, I'm not above
Sure.
punishing him for a year for that.
George, what are you thinking?
I'm thinking earlier he was mentioning he made the wrong call with the Rockets. He's angry that Harden left him home, right?
Come on, man. You give me like 20 games of playing hard. Like,
That's amazing.
I chose the Rockets because of you, Harden, and you left me.
All right. Are we all in agreement with James
yeah.
Harden?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, cool. Matt, you've got the second guard spot.
I thought Wildy was going to back his own boy, so I'm going to do it for him. I'm going to say Trey. He's 27 points per game, which is 8th for scorers, and he's also 3rd for assists at 9.5 assists a game. It's hard to
Alex-
overlook.
Alex is dying because of his Philly guys.
No,
And
no,
I
no, no,
love
no,
him.
no. You've got it
Oh.
completely wrong. It's
Oh.
Jaylen Brown. It's
Yeah.
Jaylen Brown.
Yeah.
Mm.
How dare you? How
Yeah.
dare you? that boy is the best player on the Celtics.
Yeah.
Better than Tatum this year. And that's why he should be picked. But this is why we're having these discussions. Some people might think about Trey. I obviously have so much love for Trey, but I just don't think he should get ahead of Jaylen Brown.
There's definitely a case against Trey for sure. I think that, look, Jaylen Brown, if we were doing this 2 weeks ago, it'd be a lot different. But I just think that we covered Boston earlier, and it's not working out as well as we hoped it was. And as well as Jaylen Brown is playing, it's not affecting the team. And this isn't me comparing him to Trey right now, because I know what's going on with the Hawks more than anybody. But I just think that although he's had that output, it hasn't resulted in as good a record as you would want it to.
George, you've got the first front court pick. Who are you taking?
For my front court pick, I am gonna take Julius Randle.
Yeah.
Love that. Great pick.
And I don't think there's any objections really.
Yeah, he's
Great
been balling
pick.
out.
Yeah.
He's
Hope he makes it.
been insane.
Yeah,
It helps that they've been on a late surge here as well.
yeah, definitely.
Like they were really good at the start and then tailed off, and now they're coming back again, which I really like.
Bray, you got the second front court pick.
Yeah, I was umming and ahhing between two guys, and you made it easy because one of the guys was Randall. The other guy I've got to go for is Sabonis, who has I know there's with these teams there's only 3 games between half of them. It's really tight, but the fact that they traded away Oladipo and then didn't get LeVert back, and he's managed to keep them afloat, I think has been testament.
Yeah, it's a good storyline.
Okay. God, this makes it really tricky for me because I didn't think you were going to pick Sabonis. So I am going between heart against head here. And I'm going to go with head. So I'm going to go with Chris Middleton.
Yeah.
Chris Middleton is 26-6. He's averaging 37-7 per 36 minutes without Giannis. And if you look at the Bucks record, they're only 2 losses behind Philly. That's why I'm putting Middleton in.
And without him, they don't have as good a closer, basically. Obviously, Drew is great, but they need him to make fun shots.
Super underrated player. Okay, Ed, you've got the wild card pick.
Well,
Oh,
so okay, we all know why I wanted this pick, and let me give you the facts. I can give you numbers and I can give you eye test. All right. So the pick is obviously Vucevic for obvious reasons. So let me first start with the stats. What? Who's laughing? Yeah, that's what I thought. Right. So if we look at the NBA as a whole, the 2 best centers in the league, we all know who they are. Once we get to the second tier of centers, Rudy Gobert is the best defensive center we have in the league. And if we're talking about the best offensive center outside of Jokic and outside of Embiid, it is Vooch. Let me tell you about this Magic squad. It is dreadful. Considering all the injuries they've had and some of the lineups they put out, and the only consistent has been Vooch. Tell me when you get double teamed and then you kick out to your open shooter who's shooting 25%, or his most reliable scorer has been Terrence Ross, and he isn't necessarily a catch and shoot from when Vooch is on the paint and throwing. He doesn't necessarily throw to Terrence Ross. That's not how he gets his points. His most reliable shooter has been Dwayne Bacon. That's been healthy throughout the whole year. If he had better shooters around him, his assist numbers would be much higher. He is, let me get my numbers here. He is, in terms of centers, he is 5th in rebounding, 7th in steals, and 3rd in scoring. Defensively, yes, he may not be the best, but he's improved a lot from where he was before. And without him, I don't know where the Magic will be. He's got 23 points, 11 rebounds, and 3.5 assists a game. That assist number will be much higher if people can make their open threes. And he's shooting 40% from 3. He's making the 2nd most threes out of any center, and he's shooting one of the best percentages in the league at over 40%. Last thing I mentioned about Vooch's offensive display, he doesn't get any easy buckets. It's not like he's got all his point guards are injured. Remember, we had to get Frank Mason and some guy called Randall. I keep on forgetting his first name as a point guard. So he's not getting any easy buckets where it's a pick and roll and he's got an open layup, because our point guards ain't doing that. And on his assists, Jokic and Horford are the only centers with a better assist to turnover ratio, and Jokic is the only one who has more assists than him. Randall, I think, has got 2 more assists than him on average a game, but he's got double as many turnovers. And when Vooch did have that triple double with those 10 assists, he did it with 0 turnovers as well. I mentioned a couple of weeks ago that I really want to see Vooch dominate against great offenses. He did it twice against the Warriors and against the Knicks. Now said from House Lasky. Vooch.
Love it.
Right. Okay. This is where it gets interesting because we've got the final pick in the wild card as a team. To be honest, there's a lot to uncover in this list as it is. Should we speak about the final pick? Ben Simmons.
Okay.
Bam.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I've got Bam.
I've also got Tatum,
Yeah.
Okay.
and I've also got Tobias.
Do you not
But
have-
there should
do you-
only be one Philly player making that list.
Should not have Jaylen Brown in there as well.
Jaden Brown's going to make it.
Oh no, but I'm
Is
saying
there-
complete-
sorry.
We're going
Jaden Brown is definitely in that list.
I'm saying because we
yes.
haven't discussed him, put him in.
Oh yeah, he's definitely going to make it. Yeah.
Who you
for sure.
got on your 4, Matt?
Well, my 4's gone up now, so I've got Levine, who, as much as I dog it,
Oh my god. Yeah.
Yeah.
the game, like the last 8 games, oh my god, it's absurd what he's doing. Anyway, Bam, obviously, and I would honestly have a seriously hard choice picking between the two. It would be really tough for me to pick between them. Also, the Raptors late surge, Fred VanVleet has been good. And I would say in there as well, doing better than I expected, the Hornets.
Yes.
So I don't
Gordon
know.
Hayward.
I don't know how I could I find it difficult to plead the case for Trae Young over Hayward.
It's a tough one for Trae.
Who should we take in the last wild card spot?
For
So do
me,
you think-
I think it's Levine. I honestly do think it's Levine. I mean, don't get me wrong, thinking of Levine and relating him to like the dunk contest when it comes to All-Star, he vexes me because, again, I still think Aaron Gordon should have won those.
Oh, 100%. No.
Straight up. But still, like Bray was saying, what he's done, especially over these past few games, has been incredible. And I think the only reason why the Bulls are in the position which they are in is in big part to what Levine has been doing on the court. He's been a big boost for them.
So just with, this isn't anything against Levine, this is just a comparison. So Bam Adebayo, okay, we've talked about how Miami and the Bulls have the same record. You could argue that Bam has had a rougher road, given not having their star in Jimmy Butler. Tyler Hero hasn't played as well as people thought he would after his performance in the bubble. Bam is putting up some outrageous numbers and has been the heart and soul of that team. And Levine, I love it that the whole Levine's now getting more respect and he's maturing as a player in his decision making. It's awesome. But we've also talked about Thaddeus Young having one of his better years and everything like that. So I just feel like, me personally, I would have Bam ahead of Levine. That's just.
Waldy, I think that Bam should be in ahead of Vucevic.
I was going to say this. I was gonna bring it
Vooch is having an amazing season, but
Yeah.
Bam's numbers, and I'm looking at them, and this is no disrespect, the
Let me have a
Magic,
look.
they've fallen off. I've looked at Bam's numbers, 20 points per game, 9.5 rebounds a game, 5.5 assists. He's averaging a steal and a block, and the Heat are near 500. That's why I would put him in.
And
How is that different to Vooch's?
The thing with
Their
Vooch,
team's so much better.
Vooch is the Eastern Conference Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. The record isn't good enough, and it's not Vooch's fault.
You say
It's
this,
just the way it
there is
goes.
half a game separating the Miami Heat and the Orlando Magic right now. There's half a game
Oh,
separating.
is that it? Oh, my bad.
They're not doing as well. Like, this is the problem. Between the Pacers in the 4 and the and the Wizards in the 13, there is only 4 games separating all of them. Like, we're having an earlier All-Star game this season, so it means that the teams are a lot closer than they otherwise would be. Unfortunately, in the East, it's because though most of them are hovering around just below 500. But yeah, I agree with Alex. I think Bam should be in there. But
For what reasons? Line out the reasons to me, and I'll be like, all right, cool.
because I think they basically have flipped roles. So at the start, Bam was doing everything with an injured team. Whereas at the start, obviously, Orlando got off to a fantastic start. Then all the injuries happened and they dropped off. Whereas Miami have had the opposite. They've come back a little bit as Jimmy's come back as well. But like you see, like I watched them and Bam is doing everything. And also the one key thing, Bam is a way better defender than Vooch. Way better. He does so much more for them defensively.
Oh, fair. During that time, you spoke about the team's performance. You never spoke about Vooch's performance within the team. You never spoke, and you briefly spoke about Bam's performance within the team at the end. Any word on Vooch's performance within the team during that time period?
He's been really good. Like I don't want to take. I'm not saying that Vooch.
This is not a personal attack on
No,
Vooch.
I know,
but
like, no, 100%. And I agree with the defensive point. Yeah, cool, that's fine. If we're looking at defense and offense overall, as a player this year, yeah, of course, Bam will go in there. But what Vooch, I feel like Vooch has provided to the team, and with the piece he's got around him, when I tell you some of the starting units he's had around him, and still being able to, he's been double teamed so often, and he kicks it out, and no one can hit a shot. And yes, Bam is a much better playmaker because he does do a lot of the playmaking for Miami, and it's different the playmaking Bam does to what Vooch does, because Bam will do it at the top of the key with cutters and making good decisions. Vooch will do it back to his basket, find the open man when he gets double teamed. I get it; it's different sort of assists. If that's the point, defense, cool, fine, I accept that. But yeah, I do personally, obviously, I still feel just because of Vooch's impact on the team and what he's done to players around him, I feel that's why I was saying Vooch.
I love your argument for it, but it would just. I just think it would.
I think honestly, I think if you could have either of them and be like
definitely
like, I think when it comes down to it, and as small as I think the defensive thing, and two, the Heat are on a
the Magic
six they're up or and are kind of on the way up, whereas the Magic are like due to your injury stuff are not quite there.
It also, it's going to be some bias here as well, and you're not going to want to hear this, but Magic are a small market team, and it's easy for them to be overlooked compared to Miami, who just went to the finals. And if we're trying to predict it, I think they're just going to go, yeah, we'll just put Bam in.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, I've always known the small market stuff. Like that's one of the things in American sports, like, is what it is. We all know it's the thing in most American sports, but.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just trying to fight my corner, but yeah.
All right. So, okay, I think we've got to have. It looks like we need a vote on this one. We need a vote on Trey, and we need to confirm that final pick. It sounded like Levine until we got into that, though.
Yeah. Okay, so let's start with Vooch. Bam. So who's voting for Vooch? I know Ed is. Okay, two votes. Bam. Okay, 4-2.
What would have happened if that was a tie? Just out of curiosity.
Let's not get to that. Yeah, we will try and move this along. Okay, last wild card we have Levine. Who would Levine going up against?
We've got Van Vliet, Hayward, Simmons, Tatum, Harris. Question is, do Philly deserve 2 All-Stars for the way they've been playing? Because Brooklyn, who are behind them in the standings, have got 3, which is one of the reasons I also want to shaft James Harden a bit. But yeah,
I get the point, but
he's still going to make it. Obviously, I'm just being silly here, but like, do Philly deserve 2? We'd give Milwaukee 2 as well.
I think they might give Philly 2, but I'm happy to go with Levine.
Sorry,
I'm happy to go with Levine and then move Simmons to the Trey spot.
Whoa, we completely forgot about Jaylen Brown.
Okay.
Yeah, there's another point.
I think who did we put in instead of Jaylen Brown?
I think Jaylen Brown's got to go in instead of Trae Young. Personally, that's where I stand. I know obviously Matt is your pick, but
if we're putting Vooch and Bam to a vote, I think we have to put Trae to a vote because there's too many too many of y'all are saying no to Trey. So we if we're predicting this as a group, we got to throw it out there, right?
All right, who's on Trey?
What's the vote? Trey versus who?
Trey
Jalen.
versus Jalen.
Brown.
Oh,
I'm going for Jalen personally.
Yeah,
I'm going Jalen.
4-2.
Ed?
yeah, Jalen.
Okay.
Jalen gets it.
Jalen's in. But this is the list we've got so far. So it seems
Yeah.
like it's set. Harden, Jalen Brown, Julius Randle, Sabonis, Middleton, Bam.
Yeah.
We've got one spot left. We've got Simmons, Levine, Van Fleet, Tatum.
Trey.
Anything else I missed?
Trey we just got rid of, yeah.
Booch.
Yeah, you could make the argument.
I mean, there's
Could
a
you-
lot of players.
Could
There's
you
a lot
have
of
two
players.
forwards as two wild cards? Is that
Yeah, you can-
possible?
well,
Yeah.
I mean, we had two
Okay.
guards for West.
It
Um,
could literally be anyone.
I'm happy with Levine because I want to see him get it. If people aren't happy with Levine, I'm saying that I think they will put Ben Simmons in there.
I think the fact that Beal made it, because like they're the two like big scorers on teams with less than good records. The fact that Beal is in there means that Levine will get left out because they've already filled their quota for that, and they'll go with the winning record and Simmons on that front.
Yeah. Okay. Anybody else for a wild card spot? Levine is a good shout, but yeah, it's a good point you make, Prey.
I just want to look at Levine's stats compared to Van Vliet. I know Levine will obviously have a lot more
Trey.
scoring. Yeah, Trey.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Trey's top 10 for points and top 5 for assists.
Yeah, I think it's definitely Trey versus Levine.
If you
there's
take,
only a game separating the teams.
What if we go around this as a six and say who we would vote for?
I'm checking stats. Give me a sec.
Start with Bray. You start. Who would you vote for? You got one player.
I'm going to start, and I like for the All Star. I really like awarding winning teams. I'm going to have to go with Ben Simmons.
Okay, Jord.
For me, I'm gonna stick with what I said before. I really think I would love to see Levine in there, and I think Levine deserves a spot to get it.
Ed.
I'm going to go for Trey Young because he has the scoring output that Levine does have, and he also has the playmaking ability. It's not like Levine is miles better than Trey Young on the defensive end. So I'm going to go for Trey Young.
I'm picking Simmons. Matt.
Trey.
Okay.
Oh,
Wildy.
right.
Trey. Okay, so Trey gets in.
What happened to your OU boy, Alex? Golly.
Atlanta have been disappointing. I don't think he should make it. Because also, Wildy, let's be honest, that team is built around him and it services his skill set. So he might be in the top 10 for scoring and a high in assist number, but he hasn't led the team well enough. So that's why I'm arguing.
But I know what you're saying, but I think that that's the way it is in the NBA. If you have a guy that is that gifted, then you have to build your team around him to get the most out of it. It's like that's what the whole Rockets deal was about when they had Harden. Everything was built around him, and obviously he made All-Star every year he was there. So I know what you're saying, and the defense obviously is always a big thing. Yeah, I think Philly still plays very well without them. But I think I would vote for Trey. There's a better case for them because obviously they've got the first seed at the moment.
There's just so many players having career years. There's so many players having career years. It's so hard to pick between them. And as I said, we're just nitpicking little things just to differentiate them because, I mean, that's what I was doing. I was nitpicking Trey's game between Levine's game this year, and it's
Okay, so the list. So I'll read out the full list if we're happy with that, and then anybody can jump in. So in the West, we've got Gobert, Paul George, Anthony Davis, Dame, Donovan Mitchell, Conley, and CP3. In the East, we have James Harden, Jaylen Brown, Julius Randle, Sabonis, Middleton, Bam, and Trey Young. Are we happy with that?
I guess
to be
so.
fair, I think as a group we've done a really, really good job putting it all together.
Yeah.
I
Are we
mean,
happy with that?
I think the only, like, we've been through it all, so like the only one that we haven't discussed, I think, is Middleton. At the time, we kind of accepted that. I still do think he deserves it because he is a 50, 40, 90 guy. I don't know if there's anyone, like, especially given their record. Compared to the rest of the league.
I have someone. Tobias Harris. I'll tell you why.
We just have to shout it out.
He's 21 points per game and 8 rebounds.
You can't. You've got to. You can't. I couldn't put in Tobias Harris over Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons has just been better in my opinion. Just does more.
Yeah. Well, I mean, earlier in our show, I put Tobias ahead of Ben, just because the argument for Chris Middleton and Tobias is actually quite similar in the sense of closing games. Tobias incredibly clutch for Philadelphia, so.
I'm happy with Middleton.
But
I'm happy with Middleton.
A couple of players who we didn't talk about at all that just deserve a shout in general. Tatum, I guess, deserves a shout as well. He could be an all-star in another year.
Yeah.
Jeremy Grant is having a career year for himself. It's just, again, very stacked in the East. Jimmy Butler couldn't make a case for himself, although he has been injured for a while. So those are just a couple other players. Those are a couple other players I had written down just in case anyone brought them up. And we spoke about Van Vliet. Yeah, those are. I'm not sure if anyone else has any names.
Guys, if we score 5 in the East, we've done very well.
Absolutely.
I don't think we'll get 7, but I think if we score 5, we do really well. But yeah, I think that was really good, interesting discussions. We'll report back, obviously, talking about how well we did as a collective. I'm proud the team have come together, and we're going to part ways now because back to the regular grind of positions. And trying to move up the leaderboard. So yeah, thank you to all the GMs. This was All-Star Discussions picking our reserves. And until next time, it's over and out.
Peace.
Ciao.